I believed that trust was something built so carefully over the years that nothing could ever shake it, but one quiet autumn evening I discovered that even the strongest foundation can hide deep cracks beneath its surface. My name is Claire Bennett, I was 48 years old, and after more than 2 decades of marriage in a peaceful neighborhood outside Portland, I was about to learn that the life I treasured had been quietly rewritten without my knowledge. The evening felt ordinary as I prepared a pot of vegetable soup while fresh bread baked in the oven, filling the house with comforting warmth as rain tapped gently against the kitchen windows, and my husband Daniel relaxed upstairs after returning from work. His phone rested on the dining table beside a stack of unopened mail, and when a notification illuminated the screen with a soft glow, my attention drifted toward it, without any intention of invading his privacy until I accidentally read the words. That changed everything, looking forward to tomorrow because soon we will not have to hide anymore. For several long seconds I could not breathe because my mind refused to accept what my eyes had already seen, and although I had never searched through another person's private messages before, an uneasy feeling urged me to understand whether this was an unfortunate misunderstanding or the beginning of a painful truth. The security code was still the birthday of our oldest son, making it painfully simple to unlock the phone, and within moments I found months of affectionate conversations filled with promises about a future together that clearly had no place for me. Instead of confronting Daniel immediately, I quietly placed the phone back exactly where it had been and forced myself to remain calm while every memory of our marriage replayed inside my head with heartbreaking clarity. I realized that anger would only destroy my ability to think clearly, so I decided that the truth deserved patience because careful observation often reveals far more than emotional reactions ever could. Less than 15 minutes later the front doorbell echoed through the silent house, and when I opened the door I found a confident woman standing beneath the porch light holding a small bouquet of flowers while surprise slowly replaced the pleasant smile she had worn only seconds earlier. She introduced herself as Victoria, pale with visible uncertainty after realizing I was still home, and in that unforgettable moment I understood that fate had delivered the first undeniable piece of a secret that had been growing quietly behind my back for far longer than I had ever imagined. Victoria remained frozen on the porch for several uncomfortable moments before quietly asking whether Daniel was home, and her trembling voice revealed that she had expected to find an empty house instead of standing face to face with the wife she believed would not be there. I stepped aside with calm confidence and invited her inside because I wanted answers instead of excuses, and I had already decided that watching the truth unfold naturally would tell me more than forcing a confrontation at the front door. A few moments later Daniel walked downstairs after finishing his shower, still drying his hair with a towel until his eyes landed on Victoria standing beside me in the living room, and the color immediately drained from his face as every prepared explanation vanished before it could leave his lips. Neither of them rushed toward one another or tried to deny recognizing each other, and that silent exchange between their eyes revealed a history that no carefully crafted lie could ever erase. Daniel finally attempted to explain that everything had become complicated over the past year and insisted that nothing had happened the way it appeared, but every sentence sounded rehearsed as though he had practiced it many times before this unexpected meeting. Victoria quietly admitted that they had grown close while working together on several community development projects, yet she carefully avoided mentioning how their friendship had transformed into secret plans for a future that excluded me entirely. I listened without interrupting because their discomfort spoke louder than their words, and every passing second confirmed that this relationship had not been created by one careless decision but through months of deliberate choices made behind my back. The photographs decorating the walls suddenly felt like painful reminders of birthdays, family vacations, anniversaries, and countless ordinary moments that I had believed were shared honestly while another story was quietly being written in secret. When Victoria finally decided to leave, she accidentally dropped a leather folder near the entrance without realizing it, and after the front door closed behind her I picked it up to discover architectural drawings, financial estimates, and reservation papers for a luxury mountain cabin purchased through a private investment company. Daniel immediately recognized what I was holding and reached toward it with visible panic, but by then I had already understood that their betrayal extended far beyond an emotional affair because they had been building an entirely new life while pretending our marriage was still intact. That night I barely slept because every conversation we had shared over the past year replayed inside my mind with new meaning, and each late meeting, unexpected business trip, and forgotten anniversary suddenly fit together like pieces of a puzzle I had never realized existed. Instead of allowing heartbreak to cloud my judgment, I promised myself that every Decision from this moment forward would be guided by patience, evidence, and careful planning rather than anger. The following morning Daniel left for work with the same familiar smile he had worn for years, but the moment his car disappeared around the corner I opened our financial records and began reviewing every account connected to our household. After several hours of careful research I uncovered repeated transfers to a consulting company registered under Victoria's name, and although each payment appeared small by itself, together they represented a substantial amount of money taken from the savings we had built for our future. Later that afternoon I searched through the documents stored in Daniel's home office and discovered a locked filing cabinet that contained copies of property contracts, travel reservations, handwritten financial plans, and a draft separation agreement that had already been prepared months before I learned the truth. One handwritten note captured my attention more than anything else because it explained that the conversation should happen only after our youngest daughter accepted her university scholarship, proving that every step of their plan had been carefully timed to leave me isolated. I photographed every document with my phone before returning each folder to its exact location, making certain that nothing appeared disturbed because I wanted Daniel to remain completely unaware that his secret was already beginning to fall apart. My emotions still hurt deeply, but the overwhelming sadness had slowly transformed into quiet determination as I realized that protecting myself required strategy instead of confrontation. That evening I called my closest friend Rebecca Lawson, who had survived a difficult divorce several years earlier and understood better than anyone how easily trust could be manipulated by someone determined to protect their own interests. After listening carefully without interrupting, she urged me to document everything, remain inside the family home, avoid revealing what I knew, and contact an experienced attorney immediately because she believed the strongest response to deception was preparation supported by undeniable facts. The next afternoon I met with attorney Michael Carter in a quiet office overlooking the city park, and after reviewing every document and photograph I had collected, he leaned back in his chair and explained that careful preparation would protect my future far better than an emotional confrontation ever could. He advised me to continue gathering evidence, avoid signing any paperwork Daniel might suddenly present, and allow him to believe that I was still confused. Because people who think they are safe often reveal far more than they ever intended. Over the following week Daniel transformed into the attentive husband I had not seen in years by bringing home flowers, preparing my favorite dinners, and speaking warmly about our happiest memories, but every thoughtful gesture felt less like love and more like an attempt to erase the growing distance between his carefully planned future and the reality unfolding around him. I accepted his kindness politely without revealing my true thoughts, knowing that every performance eventually ends when the audience stops believing the script. During a phone call with our daughter Emma, I learned that Daniel had already suggested the possibility that I might soon decide to move closer to my elderly parents because I supposedly wanted a quieter life, and hearing those words confirmed that he had quietly begun rewriting our family story long before I discovered the affair. Rather than burdening her with the painful truth before the proper time, I reassured her that everything would become clear soon and encouraged her to remain focused on her studies while I handled the situation responsibly. As the days passed I continued documenting unusual financial activity, hidden meetings, and suspicious conversations, while Michael carefully organized every record into a timeline that demonstrated months of planning instead of a sudden emotional mistake. The more evidence we collected, the clearer it became that Daniel and Victoria had been preparing not only for a relationship together but also for a future where I would quietly disappear without questioning the circumstances. One evening Daniel looked at me with unusual concern and admitted that he could not understand why I had become so calm after everything that had happened, and I simply smiled before telling him that silence often allows people to discover truths they would never hear in the middle of an argument. He searched my face for anger, sadness, or forgiveness, yet found none of them. Because the woman who once trusted him without hesitation had already been replaced by someone determined to protect her future with wisdom instead of emotion. A week later the annual charity gala hosted by Daniel's company brought together business partners, longtime friends, neighbors, and our adult children beneath the sparkling lights of an elegant hotel ballroom, and I accepted his invitation, knowing that this gathering would become the turning point of a story he believed he still controlled. Before leaving home I placed a slim folder inside my handbag containing only the most important documents because I wanted the truth to speak through undeniable facts instead of emotional accusations. Daniel delivered an inspiring speech celebrating loyalty, integrity, and the importance of family, and the audience responded with warm applause while Victoria watched proudly from across the room believing that their carefully planned future was finally within reach. as he thanked me publicly for standing beside him throughout every challenge. I realized that his final performance had reached its perfect conclusion and that it was finally time for the curtain to fall. When Daniel finished speaking, I calmly walked onto the stage and politely asked for a few moments to address everyone, and the cheerful conversation slowly faded into complete silence as every guest turned toward me with curious expressions. I explained that honesty deserved the same audience as deception before displaying copies of the financial transfers, the mountain cabin purchase, and the handwritten notes describing the plan to wait until our daughter left for university before ending our marriage, leaving the room filled with stunned disbelief. Daniel attempted to dismiss the evidence as a misunderstanding created by overwhelming emotions, but every document supported the next until his explanations collapsed beneath the weight of facts that could no longer be denied. Our son Ryan and our daughter Emma stood beside me without hesitation, while Victoria quietly walked toward the exit with tears in her eyes after realizing that the carefully constructed future she had imagined had disappeared in a single unforgettable evening. As the guests slowly left the ballroom, I felt neither victory nor revenge because exposing the truth had never been about humiliating anyone but about reclaiming my own dignity after months of silent deception. The legal process continued in the months that followed, yet for the first time in many years I looked toward the future with confidence instead of fear because honesty had given me something betrayal never could, the freedom to begin again on my own terms. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.